Hey, team captains, this is Reagan. I wanted to take a few minutes to walk you through our updated agenda for neighborhood notes. You'll notice that the structure looks a little bit different than our neighborhood agendas and note taking forms that we've done in the past. And I want to explain why we made this change. The heart behind this shift is simple. We want our time together to be really intentional, impactful, and worth it. In the past, our agendas sometimes felt a little loose. Don't get me wrong, there were good conversations that were happening, but they weren't always connected to what moved us forward. And this new structure that you're going to see for neighborhood notes, as well as impact content agendas and the agendas that we used in committees, are giving us clear guardrails while we still have plenty of space for your neighborhood to voice creativity and to have some autonomy when you all meet. Here's why this matters and why this is worth it. It makes sure that we celebrate the great things happening in our neighborhoods because our people and our students, they really need to feel seen. It keeps us grounded in data and instructional priorities. So we're not just talking, but we're connecting our work back to student growth. And it builds in time for concrete action steps. So each meeting ends with momentum and clarity on what comes next. This change is worth it because it respects your time, honors the work you're already doing, and ensures that every meeting truly adds value. I trust you as my team captains to lead this work well, and I know your teams will feel the difference. Thanks for leaning into this new approach. I'm excited to see what comes from these conversations. So, on the screen right now in front of you, you can see our Impact Team hub, excuse me. And this is going to house where all of our notes are kept. You can see that the top one is Impact Team Neighborhood Notes. Then we have our Impact Team for content, which will be building this week in preparation for next Wednesday. And then we also have our Impact Team for our committee notes. And this is going to be where everything can be found regardless of what Impact Team we're on. So when we scroll up, you can see that the 6 of you are listed here that are representing each of your neighborhoods and then your meeting location. I'm going to share this with the staff so they know where to find you. And then once everyone arrives at 2 o'clock tomorrow during our early release, you can open up the agenda and get started. Okay, so for this example, I'm going to go ahead and open up 6th grade Navy. So Katie, this is what yours will look like. All of these mirror each other. They just change if they're navy or gold. So you'll notice at the very top here, it does say, please make a copy of this blank template each time you meet and place the copied one at the top of your neighborhood notes. That way you don't have to copy and then delete everything from the previous time you met. So legitimately, you're going to control A, control copy. You're going to push this bad boy down a few spaces, go back to the top, and then you're going to go ahead and glue that in or paste that in, I guess. And then you can get rid of that since you don't need it. And then the next time you meet, you'll come down here to your blank one and copy it, and you'll place it on top of your September notes so it's fresh each time, okay? So right off the bat, it has your title of your neighborhood. It's got the date that you're meeting. Everybody that's in attendance, I just ask that you check if they are there. And just because you're the team captain, please know that it doesn't mean that you have to take the notes, right? You can have someone else establish themselves as the note taker. You can have your timekeeper. You can have your norm keeper, all of those things. So one thing that you're going to want to do ahead of time is go ahead and reach out to your neighborhood prior to meeting tomorrow at 2 and ask your neighborhood, is there anything that needs to happen in the nuts and bolts? And see what they say. Now, you really only have time for maybe 3 things, so you might have to, as the team captain, weigh those of what's most important and what's going to happen first. But let's say that one of your teammates says, we need to make sure that we send in anything to the highlight reel for any of our kids on our team. So maybe you're sharing that with the highlight reel committee. Perhaps you need to review the house challenges that Dom sent out. And maybe your third one is that you are each planning to pick 3 kids for positive phone calls home. I'm just making these things up. You guys will do whatever is necessary. If you don't have any nuts and bolts, then that's that. But I would really recommend you get that beforehand. You want the agenda to be pretty much built and you're going to follow through. Notice that you have 5 minutes for this section, so roll right into that. Okay, up first was the highlight reel. What are we doing? Who's doing what? What are we submitting? And then you can kind of keep your notes here that you like. The next section that you move into is problem solving, and that's 10 minutes. And then actionable steps is 20 minutes. This has to happen in this order. And I really, really want to stress the importance of doing it this way, because at the beginning, when I shared this with you, I mentioned that this keeps us grounded in instructional priorities. So we're not just talking about the kids, but we're connecting ourselves to them to see growth, whether it be behavioral, academic, attendance, celebrations, whatever. So the question that you're posing to them is, what do we need our students in this neighborhood to do that they aren't doing right now? And this might be just an option where you guys are just kind of spitballing, but we're not going to have 1,000 things, right? It's not going to be just a huge description of all the things kids are not doing. We are really going to go ahead and kind of land on something in our neighborhood. And maybe it's we have many students not arriving to class on time, okay? Or maybe it's we have a lot of kids that are trying to get out due to passes. We have students that they're really struggling to get off of their iPads during instructional time. You guys will come up with whatever, but you're going to want to kind of land on that, okay? And then you're going to come up with 3 students that are struggling with it. Because I don't want us to list every single kid. It's not manageable for us to do that. So let's think of our 3 high flyers that are really struggling with that. So maybe that's Reagan Allegri, maybe that's Ryan Dom, and that's Alec Eslick, okay? You kind of talk about that as a team and land on who's really struggling. These are small, actionable steps. We are not trying to eat the entire elephant right now. And then how do we know that this is an issue? What data do we have to prove this? Okay, well, let's say Dowden has down that RA has already had 7 tardies. And then maybe you'd say, I've already had to call home on Ryan about his tardy. So you're brainstorming and you're spitballing, like, what's the data? What we want to stay away from is this idea that they never do anything, or everyone is late, or no one. All of those things are hyperboles. We need to drill down and talk about real data that proves that this is a problem. So you'll kind of go through that piece as well. And then here, what are small, doable actions that we will take to support these students? Okay, well, I'm thinking that we need to probably have some parent phone calls need to go home. Maybe we need to triage with students, and we're just brainstorming. It doesn't matter what. This is just where you're putting a bunch of ideas. Maybe it's live school points, and you can continue putting a whole bunch of ideas there. Okay, so that's your problem solving. You've picked a problem, you've identified who struggles with it, you have talked about how we know it's an issue, what's proof of it, and then what are things that we're just spitballing as ideas that we could do to help kids. Now it's time to move on to the actionable steps. This is where the rubber meets the road and accountability is met with the kid, okay? So now we're talking who will do what with this plan so it actually happens. We are not problem describing, we are problem solving. We already described it on the left side. Now let's put some things in place. So maybe here you're going to say who is taking on this kid to help them. All right, so Dowden is championing RA. We've got Collins, and I know this is not necessarily the right team, I'm just going with it, is championing for Alec Eslick. But notice it says what actually happens. I need to write down what is Dowden doing, what is Collins doing, because when we put it in print, it's happening, okay? And this is accountability for us. Then we're going to talk about what we will see. Hopefully, we're going to start to see students arriving on time. We're going to see kids wanting to stay in class. They're encouraging to get into the classroom on time, and they're letting you know, did you see Coach Dowden? I'm here on time. They're making those positive connections. And then what are we going to bring back that will check this progress? So what data can we bring back to see if what we have done is working or if we need to change our practice. Okay? This is the way we will do all of our impact content problem solving meetings, except for we're talking about specific content in there, not necessarily behaviors or attendance or things like that. Now you can put some additional steps or ideas or things that you just want to note down here as well. Okay, so I'm going to also add additional steps / notes. You can throw that there. Okay, that's the bulk of your meeting. And then down here, this is a recap. Items for the next meeting and who's in charge of it. I want you to say what it is and whose name is attached to it, again, for accountability there. And then anything here that needs to happen for that you need connections from the counselor if they're not in your neighborhood meeting, or an admin if they're not in your neighborhood meeting. Okay, these are a part of our admin huddle every morning on Mondays. So we will open up all of these, Alec, Ryan, and I, and anything you have left for us, we can follow up with you if we were not able to make it to your meeting, or we made it but then you discussed it after we left. Okay, I know that this is winded and it's a lot of detail, and it might not seem like this is necessary for me to go through the agenda, but I really, really do feel like this builds on concrete action steps. And when we end a meeting with momentum of what we're doing to help kids, it just builds so much more clarity. And so I wanted to tighten up some of our loose ends. I'm so grateful for you as our team captains to lead this work tomorrow. And I look forward to following up with you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'll be sure to send all this out as well. I appreciate you more than you know. Have a great day.